Hello and welcome to the Print Softcover. Today we have a new book, In Pursuit of Freedom, Travels Across Patriotic Lands. It is a HarperCollins publication and it is written by Pradeep Damodaran, who is the author of Borderlands. The book was shortlisted for the 2017 Raymond Crossword Book Award. Pradeep is with us today and I welcome you, sir.
Hi, Prasanna. Glad to be here.
Yes. Sir, you've said in the book that it was 7 years in the development. So, where did the idea originate, and what were those 7 years like? Traveling across the country, interviewing people, and writing.
We see the most of the work was desk work. I had to do a lot of research for this book. So, of the 7 years, I would say 3 years went away in the pandemic. Okay, I could not travel anywhere,
Yeah.
so that helped in intensifying the research. The research has been so much more than I have done for my earlier books, because I was locked in my in my city for 3 years, almost 3 years, due to the
Yeah.
COVID pandemic. During which time all that happened was just reading material, the reference material that I wanted to complete. We did a lot of extensive research, and ideating the book itself took a lot of time. See, originally after Borderlands, as you know, Borderlands was a big success. I mean, it was it was received so well.
Yeah.
Just okay, I'll just go back to a little bit the background behind it. My first book I wrote was on the Mullaperiyar water issue. It's called the
Yes.
Mullaperiyar Water War. It did not sell at all. I mean, it hardly sold. There was only 500, 600 copies that got sold.
Okay.
So I when I wrote my second book, which was Borderlands, I wrote it as a fun thing. I thought nobody might read it. It's just meant for my friends and my co-workers
Oh.
and all that stuff. So it was a very casual, fun thing that I did, and apparently it worked so well. It was received so well that I became very cautious about this. So I wanted to do something better than that, and then this idea of mixing the past and the present, bringing history and making sense of the past using the present. That was the concept that went behind it, and then choosing the places, because our freedom struggle, if you see, it spans across 2-3 centuries.
Yeah.
So to pick and choose the right destination where I can do justice to the theme of the book as well as to the destination took some time. Then I came up with this whole proposal. Then I gave it to my agent, and that took some time. By then, which around this time, the pandemic happened and nothing worked. I was
Yeah.
just sitting home and reading so many books. I mean, I'm in my study, so I have a whole pile of books sitting next to me. All of this was purchased and referenced. So by 20, I think 21 or something, I sent the proposal. The proposal was okay. The travel took only about a year. Okay, it's just about
Oh.
the, the exact traveling days. If you say about
Yeah.
150, 200 days, but it spanned over a year. So it was just about a year that I traveled, but the reading and the research that went into it took so much time, especially coming up with this concept. That took a lot of time.
Yeah.
So
The book
does that
also is.
explain?
Yeah. The book is pretty interesting in the fact that it combines four different genres. It is history, current affairs, it's memoir, and travelogue, of course. So, what went into this choice of combining these four aspects of writing instead of having it be a history book or a current affairs book, or because the same theme can be approached in a variety of different ways, right? You chose to combine these four elements of writing. What went into it?
See, it was basically a natural choice. There was really no mixing of genres or anything.
Okay.
I am doing travel writing. I like to travel and explore places and express them. So when you travel to a historical place, naturally you need to do a lot of historic research. The the background that goes into the place and why it is of importance and all that. So the history and the contemporary, they came naturally. Then, I believe you as an individual, you as a writer, when you go, you're a part of it, and everything I see or experience is a reflection of who I am. So naturally, my autobiography or whatever you call my memoir, it comes in, because when I see a place, the memories that kindle within myself. I mean,
Yeah.
if I don't bring that, you wouldn't understand how I see what I see, why I see what I see. So there was really no plan to have multiple genres. Actually, when the publicity material came up, that's when I realized that so many different genres are mixed in the book.
Yeah.
I just
All of
wrote
that,
a honest and natural book.
yes. All that experience is filtered through you. So it's your effort and through your lens that we see all of those places.
Yes,
Very true.
and so for somebody to understand that, they should understand who I am, where I come from, and that's all
Yeah.
that.
You've also mentioned in the book that the third section, the book has four sections, and the third one is your
Mm-hmm.
favorite. Could you tell us why?
Yes, yes. Because like I mentioned, no, the first, the other three sections are exploring a certain facet of the whole concept of freedom,
Yes.
whereas the third section, which I was referring to, does not do that. It goes for those forgotten stories, those stories that we have consciously or unconsciously chosen not to have them in our narrative, in our freedom struggle narrative, like
Yeah.
the Bilga, what to say, the left revolutionaries, their role of
Yes.
the left revolutionaries, and
Baba Bhagat Singh.
the Tomluk, the Jatiya Sarkar that was in that was the longest, one of the longest Jatiya Sarkars was in Tomluk in West
Yeah.
Bengal. Then the tribal struggle, tribals, these are very, they are recognized, but not in the mainstream, not like a Jhansi or a
Yeah.
Jallianwala Bagh massacre or something like that. It's not in the mainstream. So
Yeah.
exploring this and going to these places and seeing its impact over after 7 decades was very exciting for me. I think that angle is totally new in this uh, in this
Yeah.
freedom struggle narrative.
And
That's why it's my
so,
favorite.
yes, like you've mentioned, a large part of your work was the research and the writing, but also a very important part of it is interacting with these people, because a lot of these interactions reveal sometimes a sort of humor, but also a lot of depth to these people's lives. So, and when they're narrating their stories, you can arrive at a human idea of these historical events. Like Bodra, which seems so horrific, and when you go and talk to these people, there's a different picture that comes out. So, what role would you say memory plays in both persecution of people as well as their liberation?
I think it plays a very, very significant role on how people see things, the way they see things immediately, and the way they see things after so many decades of an incident happening. I'll give you two examples. One is as you mentioned, the Godhra riots and the aftermath of the Godhra riots. When I went and met the survivors,
Yeah,
some of them were still so shaken by it. But whereas there are other people, there was another guy, I write about him in the book. He was so cool. He was like he's come over it completely, and he has a
yeah,
kind of a very, very, very stoic approach to it. He's not reacting anymore. That is a more of a short term thing. There's another very,
yeah,
very interesting thing which I found in Chori Chora, where you have the government, actually the Indian government, paying
yeah,
pension to the soldiers to the policemen who got killed by the freedom fighters, and they are also paying pension to the freedom fighters' families who killed the policemen and who were
yeah,
hanged for it. The perspective is so different. The way these people see it after 7 decades is
yeah,
so different from how it would have been when the British were ruling, or when the earlier independence days were the government, earlier independent governments were seeing this, to how we see it now. Now that we have a kind of a right wing government and all that, 50 years from now, if there is a big right movement, we might see the whole thing very differently. That puts these kind of travelogues and travel books, I think, into perspective. The timing of it is very important, and memory is all about timing.
True. And on the same note, through your travels,
Mhm.
though they were a very around a year of your time, of 7 years, so
Mhm.
uh, a lot of your time was taken by research, and yet when you write about being in those places like Jhansi or Gandhi, you almost get a sense of retracing the steps of these figures of history, right? So you've done
Mhm.
a similar exercise in Borderlands, which is traveling to
Mhm.
these places and describing those travels. So why does the motive
Mhm.
of, or what in the motive of travel and journey, what appeals to you?
I mean, I don't know. I love it. I love traveling. I always used to travel for many, many years. And
Yeah,
I traveling with a theme in mind, trying to explore a concept. I really enjoy that. It's fascinating. I mean, I am a journalist. I have been. No, I'm not
yeah,
doing mainstream journalism, but I have been a journalist for almost 2 decades, and all my journalism, I've been a field reporter. I like to go to the field. I like to go out, talk to people, meet people, experience the whole thing. So that's been my thing, and I love going to a place to explore something.
yeah,
My non-fiction writing is an expansion of that. Now it's expanded. It's no longer reportage. It's become writing because it's just experiential writing. That's about it. I
yeah.
see it as a natural progression actually.
After
Hmm.
all of that uh, work put in through research as well as traveling, meeting people, interviewing them, what is the idea that
Hmm.
emerges? What is the relationship that you see now, having completed the book, that emerges between the idea of freedom and the idea of nation, which is also connected to the idea of patriotism? Because a lot of narrative around freedoms have been interconnected with liberation of an entire nation.
Yeah, I mean, for starters, I like to say that you or the viewers or the readers will have to read the book to find out. Isn't that the purpose of writing the book? So I might not be able to say that in a single, in a 20-minute frame, or on a 30-second span. But I will tell you this: the idea that emerges is freedom is so different for different people.
Yeah,
The freedom for a let's say a regular guy, somebody who is a descendant of a freedom fighter, or somebody from a family that is associated with the freedom struggle, is one thing. A housewife who is stuck in a patriarchal family, freedom for
yeah,
her is something else. The idea, the very definition of freedom for a farmer is
yeah.
totally different. For instance, there is a farmer in the book where he says he is like a slave to his land. He cannot move out of his land forever. You stay out for a week, it's gone.
Hmm.
So for him, freedom is just to have the money or the resources to go out and enjoy. This idea of freedom associated with liberation is how we all start. But if
Yeah,
you look at it, it's basically it's at a very individual level. And
of
for
course.
each person, for people in different walks of life, freedom means so many different things. Here we go by the broad theme of the systemic freedom, the freedom that the system or the I would not say the state provides you, and how it differs from place to place, from people to people.
Yeah,
That's what we are exploring. But like you say, freedom is such a broad, huge canvas.
true. It's very interesting when you pointed out the farmer being connected or even tied down to the land, which is the land is a nation mass, the India as a nation, and all of these free people in the nation whose journeys you've charted through your book. So my
Mhm.
last two questions for you would be, they are interconnected. The first one is,
Okay.
which interactions through this entire journey stood out to you? Which ones you would remember? Which ones had an impact on you?
Most of them actually, I met a lot more people than I presented in the book. So most
Yeah,
of the ones that are appearing in the book are ones that left a
yeah,
solid mark. One small thing I'll tell you. I mean, I still what I'm amazed by is that I've I've written about this guy. There's this little tribal boy, a small young fellow. He's full of
yeah,
life. That young man from in Valsad district in Koba. The village name is Koba. So I go to talk to a Gandhian activist there who is running an ashram, and I meet this
yeah,
young, really young guy. He's 21, 22, who actually whose father is still a daily wager. He was picked up by the ashramites. He came to a slightly more urban environment
yeah,
where he actually did an andolan. He did a kind of a protest in Gandhian style and
yeah,
succeed. That story, that kind of stories of the people overcoming all odds. It's like a movie. I mean, it's so good. It
yeah,
feels so nice for you that you spend all this time and you find some gems like this, some little this little moments where you feel that there is still humanity, there is still life, there is a lot of value to
yeah,
what we believe in, and those moments are the fascinating ones. On the other hand, I mean, we're talking to riot victims and people who lost so much. It's really
yeah,
sad. It's heartbreaking, but that also remains. That also remains. Another thing, I mean, there are so many fascinating people I met in this. I could not write about them, but I've met
mm,
such wonderful people. They spent their time. They explained so many things to me. Some of them are dead actually after I, because they are old people because
yeah,
associated with the freedom struggle. They're quite old, and
true.
to find out that they're gone, they're lost, no longer there. It's so sad.
Yes.
I think
And
I
that
have.
was,
Yeah.
that leads me to my second part of my question, which is, which interviews, which conversations were left out, or destinations that you had planned but could not go to, which dots on this map have been left out?
I did not leave out anything. I went wherever I had planned. If I couldn't go in the first round, I went in the second round, or maybe whenever I could. That's why it so much time because
Mm.
it's a book, right? There's no deadline as such, like in in regular journalism. So whatever I planned, whatever was put in the proposal, I stuck to that. I visited all the places, but there are a lot of. I don't want to mention these things because there are a lot of people I spoke to who I could not put in the book because it was not
Yeah.
part of the narrative. It did not fit into the narrative.
Yes.
That is there. That is that, and some of them have even passed away. I really feel bad about that. But as far as destinations and what I wanted to explore, I think I've done well. I'm happy. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put it out. I would have held it back for some more time and done that.
Yeah.
Does it explain your question?
I think it does. So thank you, sir. Thank you for having joined us today.
It was my pleasure, and thank you for giving publicity to my book and taking it out to the world. I really appreciate that.